I had to retake this video because I really felt insecure about my face. I feel puffy, I feel, you know, everyone has insecurities. I'm so sorry if I'm blabbering or I'm being nonsense, but yeah. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Peter Planter, and for today's video I'm going to be talking about 5 types of plants or 5 families of plants that would appreciate a pole on their pot or would appreciate a pole. Before I would dive into the plants that I have here on my table, I know there are some people that does not like to have poles on their pots or does not like to have, you know, those, they find it like fairly annoying to see, but this video is meant for the people who likes to have their poles on their pots. And this is also for educational purposes in any ways. So yeah, if you do not like to have your poles, then you're free to have your plant pole-less. It's a free world anyway. So let's get right into it. So the first plant that I'm going to talk about is my Philodendron burlmarks. Right here is my Philodendron burlmarks. Oh, right, I know the issue right now. So the UHD is kind of a wide angle. Anyhow. So this one is my Philodendron burlmarks that is, you know, a pole is attached to it. It's not straight. I don't know which one is not straight. It's not. So yes, Philodendron burlmarks do appreciate a pole. Not all philodendrons though appreciate a pole, or not all philodendrons are climbing type philodendrons. Just like Philodendron Birkin, a Philodendron Red Congo, a Philodendron Moonlight, a Philodendron Chicken. Kidding. We have a lot of chickens in our neighborhood. We don't have chickens. We don't own any chicken. Anyways, so I really apologize if you hear chickens in this kind of hour. So yeah, Philodendron burlmarks really appreciate a pole if you would give them a pole. If you don't give them a pole anyway, they would tend to topple over and they would crawl instead. And you know, in nature they would crawl and climb and find a tree to climb up. So yeah, they still climb in nature eventually. So that's the first plant, Philodendron burlmarks, and the other type of philodendrons. Okay, so the next plant that I'm going to talk about is the Pothos family, right here. What I have here is my Manchula potos that is climbing up a pole. And by the way, if you have noticed, my poles aren't moss poles or the jute twine poles. I have here a lumber or cocoa lumber pole that is fairly accessible in my case. If you guys are like having access to moss poles, then do use moss poles. But I do not have that, you know, access, and I don't live in a place where they manufacture a lot of moss poles. They're still starting to. So what I'm really using is cocoa lumber, which is also natural, and it gives the natural vibe. Anyway, so this is a Manchula potos, and it is part of the potos family, which is also a climbing type of plant. They do get larger leaves when they climb up a tree or a pole, and plants do that. Plants have a behavior where whenever they are able to climb up a tree, eventually they would develop more larger leaf on top of the trees. They would have fenestrations, they would have some holes. You know, that is a kind of behavior that I figured out that I forgot the term. But if I do, you know, remember, I would put it right here. So this is one of the potos that I have that is climbing up a pole. The next potos that I have is my potos, Marble Queen potos, like that one. I'm just gonna, don't mind this plant, so this one. So this one's a Marble Queen potos right here. And if you can notice, it is quite larger than the Manchula, and the leaf difference, the leaf texture and shape and variegations is quite different than from each other. And I do have other types of pothos, just like the neon pothos, angel pothos, what else? Jade pothos that is climbing up a tree. And if I do have a clip, I would show you a clip, but if I don't, then I do not have a clip. So yes, the second type of plant that would appreciate poles are the pothos. So these are the pothos.
Flashback.
You know what? I do honestly think that I got chubbier, but my weight doesn't say it. I was like 128 pounds. Now I'm 132.
What?
That's a lot of gain.
End of flashback.
So the third type of plant that I'm going to talk about is the Monstera family. Where's my Monstera? Okay, so here we have a Monstera borsigiana. This is not a Monstera deliciosa. And there are also some Monsteras that do not have the same behavior as the Monstera borsigiana. Comparing to a Monstera deliciosa, I think I have mentioned this a lot of times in my previous videos. Monstera borsigiana has that vining type of growth and habit, so they do tend to vine out a lot and climb a lot compared to the Monstera deliciosa, which I'm looking out right now out from my window. So yeah, they do have a climbing behavior compared to the Monstera deliciosa, and they would appreciate a pole. And you know, I have a clip. I have several other Monstera borsigiana that is climbing up a pole, and if I do have a clip, I think I'm just gonna insert it right here. And yeah, they do develop a lot larger leaves, and more fenestrations would develop on your Monstera borsigiana or any type of other Monsteras, and they would develop also holes in the middle. So yeah, that's the Monstera family. And I do have one last Monstera example right here. So this one, if you can see, it is not fairly visible. This one is a Monstera Insomnia that is planted with a pole. And if you have noticed, it is not climbing up a pole yet. See, there's a space. Because I just repotted this one, I think a month ago, and it would take some time. It is not the growing season of the Monstera Insomnia this month, and I'm waiting for, I think, the month of March to the summer months, because I think it is the growing season for these type of plants. And yes, they are part of the Monstera family that would appreciate a pole as well. And there are some other Monsteras that would appreciate poles as well. Monstera sandalina, Monstera Peru, Monstera siltipicana. So yeah, there's a lot of other Monsteras that would appreciate a pole, and the Monsteras are the third type of plant that I mentioned today in this video that would appreciate a pole. So the fourth one that I'm gonna mention is the family of amidriums. Now, I have an amidrium right here. So this is the only amidrium that I have. I don't have other types of amidrium. So this one is an amidrium medium. It is also planted with a pole, and it hasn't started climbing up yet. The reason is I also repotted this one, I think 3 days ago, and if you can see, it's still a little bit limp because I think the roots are still trying to adapt to the soil and everything in it. And yes, amidriums are one of the types of plant that appreciates a pole as well. They would tend to get larger as well. They would develop larger leaves, and they would develop more fenestrations and more splits. And if you are a amidrium hobbyist, you would notice, or you would know, that amidriums tend to grow like stems only if you don't give them enough sunlight or enough light for them. They need more brighter sunlight than the other plants that I mentioned right here, and based from experience, and they do they do have that kind of habit when, when they are deprived from the sunlight that they want, or the light that they want. So yeah, that's the fourth one. Okay, so moving on to the last type of plant that I'm gonna mention in this video, it is the Syngonium. So Syngoniums are one of the exceptions that I have in my list right now, because, let me explain. Apart from the plants that I mentioned earlier, Syngoniums, just like this one, wait. And this one, that is clearly not in a pot. And yeah. Okay. So, the reason why I placed this one last is because it is quite different than the others that I mentioned earlier. So, the fifth type of plant is the Syngonium, as what I mentioned earlier. And their behavior is similar, though. It's quite similar. They climb a tree, they climb up a pole, they would appreciate a pole. But what sets them apart from the other plant is their foliage. Once they are able to climb up a tree or a pole, instead of having larger foliage, they do develop larger foliage, but instead of having fenestrations and holes, they would eventually develop segmented leaves. So instead of having one entire leaf like this one, they would separate and they would form ears, and also they would form like other segments right here. So that is the habit of Syngoniums when they climb up a pole. So I have here a Syngonium white butterfly, very pretty, and here I have a Syngonium Grandlandii that is a juvenile form. I do not want this one to climb because, for some reasons, these are my exceptions. And lastly, I have a Syngonium Aeroprophylum. So this one I tried to let it climb because I want to have a larger, Aeroprophylum. It seems like it doesn't want to climb. I've tried a lot of methods for it to climb, but it doesn't like to climb, and it's okay. I think I'm just gonna leave it like this. But what I'm scared of is it's gonna develop smaller leaves eventually, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm probably gonna propagate this one and let it climb in a pool sooner. If I find a moss pole though, I'm gonna buy a moss pole for this one. Very exceptional plant. Special plant. So yeah, that is the five types of plants that would appreciate a pole if you would give them some. And this is not like an aesthetic type of purpose. Its main purpose is to replicate their growing habits in nature, and these plants are mostly climbing in nature, and they would really find something to climb on because they are epiphytes, if that's the right term. Epiphytes. They are epiphytes, and they do want to crawl up, and yeah, they do, like, it's their natural growing habit. So if you're one of those people that does not want to have their pole, it's okay. It's part of your choice. It's a free country. It's your plants, and yeah, I'm one of those people who likes big stuff, big leaves, big stems, big plants. So yeah, I do love my plants getting bigger. And yes, I do hope you learned something from this video, and if you did, don't forget to like and share this video to your friends who are having this plant. And for those of you who are new to my channel, subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It's Peter Planter, and thank you for the newer subscribers in my channel. I do appreciate you subscribing to my channel. My channel is very small, but hopefully I would get to the top, if you know what I mean. And yeah, don't forget to click the notification bell if you want to get notified every time I post a new video on my channel, and I will see you in my next one.